Today's read aloud is called The Bremen Town Musicians, and this is another folk tale, just like the story of the wolf and the seven little kids. Remember, a folk tale is a story that is passed down orally from person to person. It's not written down. A folk tale is one type of fiction. That means that it's made up from someone's imagination. It is not something that happened in real life. Before we listen to the read aloud, let's go over some vocabulary. Our first word is musician. Say musician. A musician is someone who plays a musical instrument or sings. Panting. Say panting. Panting means breathing quickly through your mouth because you are hot or out of breath. And our last word is perched. Say perched. Perched means sat or rested on something. The Bremen Town Musicians. This is a folk tale about a donkey, a cat, a dog, and a rooster. I want you to listen carefully to find out the differences in the ways animals and people communicate and how that causes some confusion in the story. Once upon a time, there was a donkey who for many years had worked for a farmer. The donkey had worked on the same farm day in and day out and longed to leave the farm and see the world. The farmer was not happy that the donkey wanted to leave, but when he saw how sad the donkey was, he told him that he must go. The donkey left and took the road to a town called Bremen, where he had heard a street band play sweet music. He thought he could be a fine musician too. So a musician is someone who plays an instrument or sings. Do you think a donkey can really be a part of a band or a cute group of musicians? Let's see what happens. Soon he came upon an old dog panting for breath, as if the dog had been running a long way. So this means the dog was having a hard time breathing. "What are you panting for, my friend?" asked the donkey. "Ah," answered the dog. "Now that I'm old, I have decided to leave my home and see the world. There's so much of the world to see that I have been running in order to get it all in." "Well," said the donkey, "come with me. I'm going to be a street musician in Bremen. I can play the flute, and you can play the drum." The dog was quite willing, and so they both walked on. To be willing means that you will do what another person says or go where another person goes. Soon, the dog and the donkey saw a cat sitting in the road with a face as long as 3 days of rainy weather. "Now, what's the matter with you, old kitty?" asked the donkey. "You would be sad," said the cat, "if you were in my place. For now I'm getting old and I haven't seen any of the world beyond the barn I live in. Alas, I want to go and see the world, but I do not know where to begin." "Then come with us to Bremen," said the donkey. "I know that you sing well at night, so you can easily be a street musician in the town. Bremen will be a great place to start your adventures." "That is just what I should like to do," said the cat. So she joined the donkey and the dog, and they all walked on together. By and by, the 3 musicians came to a farmyard. On the gate stood a rooster, crying cock-a-doodle-doo with all his might. "What are you making so much noise for?" asked the donkey. "Ah," said the rooster, "I'm trying to get the other animals' attention. I'm leaving to see the world, and this is how roosters say goodbye." "Come with us, old Redcomb," said the donkey. Old Redcomb refers to the rooster because of the red comb on his head. "We are going to Bremen to be street musicians. You have a fine voice, and the rest of us are all musical too." "I will join you," said the rooster, and they all four went on together. They could not reach the town in one day, and as evening came on, they began to look for a place to spend the night. The donkey and the dog lay down under a large tree. The cat climbed up on one of the branches. The rooster flew to the top of the tree where he could look all around. "I see a light from a window," the rooster called to his friends. "That means there is a house nearby," said the donkey. "Let us ask the people for supper." Supper means dinner. "How good a bone would taste," said the dog. "Or a nice piece of fish," said the cat. "Or some corn," said the rooster. So they set out at once and soon reached the house. The donkey, who was the tallest, looked in the window. "What do you see, Old Long-Ears?" asked the rooster. Old Long-Ears refers to the donkey because he has long ears. The donkey answered, "I see a table spread with plenty to eat and drink, and a family sitting before it having their supper." "Come down," said the dog, "and we shall think of a way to impress this family so that they will share their supper with us." The four friends talked over what they could do to show the family that they were not just ordinary barnyard animals. At last, they had an idea. The donkey stood on his hind legs and placed his front feet on the windowsill. The dog stood on the donkey's back. The cat climbed up and stood on the dog's back, and the rooster perched on the cat's head. When you perch on something, you sit or stand on it like a bird. Then the donkey gave a signal, and they all began to make their loudest music. The donkey brayed, the dog barked, the cat meowed, and the rooster crowed. The animals thought that for sure this sweet music would charm the family. The family had never before heard such a noise, and they were frightened and had no idea what could be making such a terrible sound. They ran as fast as they could through the woods to the neighbor's house. Our four friends were dismayed that their beautiful song had frightened the family so. Still, they were very hungry from their journey and decided to eat what remained of the family supper. When the four musicians had eaten as much as they could, they were full and ready to sleep. The donkey lay down in the yard, the dog lay behind the door, the cat curled up in front of the fireplace, and the rooster flew up to a high shelf. They were all so tired that they soon fell fast asleep. Later that night, the uncle decided to go back to check on the house. He found everything quiet and still, so he went inside. He did not see the cat, and he stepped on her tail. The poor kitty was caught by surprise and jumped up, landing on the uncle's face by accident. It gave the uncle such a fright that he ran for the door, which in turn scared the dog, who grabbed the uncle's leg as he went by. In the dark yard, the uncle could not see the donkey and ran into him by accident. This scared the donkey, who gave him a great kick with his hind foot. All this woke the rooster, who cried with all his might, "Cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The uncle ran as fast as his legs could carry him back to the neighbor's house, where his family was waiting for him. Gasping for breath, he said, "I have no idea what is going on in that house, but I am never going back. First, something tried to cover my eyes. Then, something tried to stop me from leaving by grabbing my leg. Then, out in the yard, something pushed me from behind. And all the while I heard an awful noise asking, 'Who are you? Who are you?'" The family was filled with fear and ran away as fast as they could. Meanwhile, the animals had finally settled down after being woken up from their slumber. They decided that it was all just a bad dream and went back to sleep in the cozy little house. They liked the little house so much that they stayed there, waiting for the family to come back. And as far as I know, they are there to this day. So the uncle was scared because he thought that there was a person in the house, but in reality, it was just the animals. When he said that something tried to cover his eyes, that was the cat that jumped on his face by accident. Then he said someone grabbed his leg. That was the dog that grabbed his leg. Then he said out in the yard something pushed him from behind. The donkey kicked the man from behind because he was scared. And no one was saying, "Who are you?" That was just the rooster saying, "Cock-a-doodle-doo." So the uncle shouldn't have been scared, and the family definitely shouldn't have moved away. But they did, and that was the end of the story. Go ahead and answer the questions, friends.